An American Pickle, out on HBO Max, starring Seth Rogen, based on a short story. In the prologue, we meet Herschel, played by Rogen, a Jewish ditch digger living in poverty in Eastern Europe, in somewhere at the beginning of the 20th century. In search of a better life, he moves along with his wife to America and starts working in a pickle factory. One day, he falls into a barrel of pickles. He is closed inside, the factory immediately ceases to operate, and he gets marinated essentially and left behind in the closed building. 100 years later, some kids playing with a drone discover the building and the barrel and open it, finding Herschel, who is still alive and hasn't aged a day because the chemicals preserved him. Now, before you say that this is outrageously stupid, yes, we all know that, including the filmmakers. In fact, the movie addresses this very point. There is a really funny joke made about it pretty much right after. Nobody is pretending to take this seriously as a plot point. You just sort of have to accept it in order for the story to continue. And to continue, it does. Herschel meets up with his great grandson, his only living relative, Ben, also played by Seth Rogen, who is an unsuccessful freelance mobile app developer. The first part of the film then becomes this classic fish out of the water story with Herschel learning to live in a modern world. But it quickly morphs into a sort of a rivalry story between Ben, who is trying to get his app off the ground, and Herschel, who is attempting to start a pickle company. So the first thing I want to say is how awful the movie looks like. It's got some of the most visible green screen since probably Phantom Menace. I know it may sound like a really technical criticism, but it is noticeable, and it did take me out of the film. The knowledge that, okay, I can clearly see in every scene that these people are not where the movie is pretending they are, or on whatever location they are. They are in a studio in front of a green screen. That's not the biggest problem, though. That, for me, was that the two main characters are unlikable, and how unlikable they're made to be. For the entire runtime, I wasn't exactly sure which one of them I'm supposed to be rooting for, if any, and in truth, I didn't really relate to any of them. Ben is a proper dick and a saboteur throughout the entire story, so you find it difficult to like him, even though he is absolutely correct most of the time, like morally. On the other hand, Herschel is more generally likable, but he does say and do questionable stuff all the time. And by questionable, I mean totally outrageous and unacceptable. So you have these two characters opposite one another, and you kind of despise both of them, which makes for a rather unpleasant viewing. Which is a shame because some of the humor is pretty good, and there are potshots taken at the social media culture, at hipsters, at the way modern companies operate. There is a bit with Herschel becoming this sort of social media celebrity that reminded me of the film Being There with can't remember who it was, but it also that was a comedy film which in which the story was that a guy who is sort of mentally slow becomes this unwittingly becomes this massive celebrity and a politician because everybody thinks that he can't be stupid. He's probably really smart, really philosophical. We just, we don't understand it, so they respect him really well. And similar thing happens with Herschel here. And the movie also tries, with mixed results, to give us a few heartwarming lessons about the importance of family. But it's just not good enough because of the way the characters are written, especially, and lack of visual flair, and some issues with tone, where the film sort of cannot decide whether to be a comedy or a drama. The whole thing falls rather flat.